Alright guys, here is the 64 Galaxie with an update, and I know a lot of you have been asking where the video is at, what's going on with this thing. Well, the work on it has come to a screeching stop, and it has to do with the 428. Something very unexpected happened to it, and I'm not sure what's gonna happen with that thing. So let me show you guys what's going on and what's gonna happen with this build. And here it is. Here's the 428. I don't even have any words. I don't know what to say. It's all disassembled, and a couple days ago this thing was running amazing. You would hit the throttle on that thing and it would just roar. This thing came to life. It sounded amazing and I was pretty proud of it. Everything was just very smooth with this build, but unfortunately we've got a big problem. And the problem with this thing is that it kept mixing oil with the coolant. And if you know, there can only be two things that can cause that. One of them with the FE is the intake alignment. And because there's so many ports to line up and this thing's pretty big, sometimes these water ports on the intake can leak through if it's not aligned correctly on these corners, and you'll have a leaking coolant with the oil. Well, I checked it a couple times. I took the intake off and bought some normal gaskets without any embossing, and I checked the surfaces and everything looked good to me, so I put it all back together. I turned this thing on and nothing happened. I thought the problem had been fixed. It's pretty weird because I went through this whole heat cycle, nothing happened. The following day, I checked the oil on the dipstick. Everything seemed to look good. Fired it up again and let it go up to temp, up to 180, and then I let it cool down and I checked the oil. Well, when I checked the oil, there was a small little bit of coolant, and you could smell the sweet coolant as well. And I thought, man, I hope it's not the same thing happening. Sure enough, I just couldn't just leave it like that. I decided to drain the oil, and when I drained it, it was full of mixed oil and coolant again. So my heart sunk, man. It's just crazy because this took me a whole year to build, to gather all the parts, to get all the research, my first engine build, put it all this together, make sure everything was on correctly. And now I've got this huge problem to deal with. And what's happening is right over here. So what was going on is that it was leaking some drops right here. I decided to put down the camera in through the intake, right in, look into this valley here, and I had rented the coolant pressure tool from the auto parts store. So I pumped up the little pump up to the 15 pounds of pressure, and I started to see little drops coming from here. I'll put up the video so you guys can see it. Boom, right there. Head's gotta come off. Yep, right there. So with the camera, we could clearly see that there was bits of water, little droplets coming down here. And I knew I had to take the head off. I knew it was not the intake at all. And I knew it was not the head gasket, because if the head gasket was messed up, we would have seen white smoke, since it would have been burnt by the chamber. So I didn't see no white smoke at all during any of the firing up of this engine, so I knew it was not the head gasket. Well, we took the head off, and looked in this area, looked all around the deck. I couldn't really see anything until I saw this area where it was leaking. And if you take a look right here, see if this camera will focus, you can see the crack right there. And this is the coolant port right here, and this is where the head bolt goes. This is closed off. This is not an open hole. So whenever this thing heats up, I'm guessing it expands, and the coolant from here ends up traveling through this head bolt and leaking down through here. So that's what I found out, is that this thing is cracked. When I took a closer look, I looked right here, everything is good right here, there's no other cracks. Well, I took a closer look, and you could see on this one, it is also cracked right there, which is really crazy. Man, all this is just unfolding to me. We look over here on this corner, and it's also cracked right there. So I decided to take the other head off as well. Take a look over here on these four corners again. This one, let me see if it'll focus. You can't really see anything, so this one I think is fine. Took a look over here at this corner, and you could see like a small hairline fracture. I think this is just surface though, because it does not leak from this side at all. So the driver's side doesn't leak at all. Everything looks fine. It is just this hole that leaks, and it is this one right here. So what I decided to do is I got some compressed air, and I put it on here with the rubber tip. Put some air in there, squeeze some soap right here, and then it was very clear that this thing is cracked. I'll put up a video of that as well so you guys can check it out.
Ooh, okay.
So there you go. It definitely is cracked, and right here and right over here. And immediately I started to look for solutions. The one place that I kept coming up was a place called Lock and Stitch, and they're here in California, and all they do is repair cracked blocks, broken blocks, all that sort of stuff. And I've heard very good reviews about it. What they do is they drill out this crack right here, and they have like a locking pin system. They put the pin in here, which breaks off, and you file it flat, and that is the fix. That locks the two pieces of metal together, and that is supposed to be a permanent fix. I'm still not super convinced about that process. You just want to be 1000% sure that it is a permanent fix, because when you're cruising this thing and it starts to mix the oil with the coolant again, it'll just be a catastrophic failure. Your engine will seize, and everything will be just, man, ruined. So I'm really glad that nothing like that happened to my stuff, because it very could have, could have messed up the crank, the pistons, the rods, everything could have messed up. But thankfully all the parts are still good to use. So that is where I'm at. I'm not really sure what to do yet. I'm leaning towards finding another block, because I just want to be sure that there are no cracks, and that this mixing of oil and coolant doesn't ever happen, because again, that is just catastrophic failure. So if you guys have used Lock and Stitch, let me know. I'm not really leaning towards that side, but I'm leaning more towards another 428. But as you guys know, I do have a spare 390 FE engine right there. It's all put together, and what I'm thinking of doing is throwing that thing on the run stand and turning it on, making sure everything is good, and dropping it in the Galaxie. So that is where I'm at. That is the crossroads. What I'm trying to decide is use the 390, drop it in the car with the trans so that we can keep this build going, get this car on the road, because that is the goal. You know, we need to get this car done. We need to get it on the road. So let me know what you would do. You know, would you drop the 390 in it? Would you just wait to find another block? Um, I'm thinking I'll drop the 390 and get it going. Like I said, we just was not expecting this huge setback. This is a huge blow to the build, but you know, we can't let it stop the build. We got to keep going with this thing and get this car on the road. We got to keep going. Don't give up. We just got to keep progressing on the build. So that is the plan. Getting the 390 in the car, I guess, and trying to get it on the road. This will definitely be 428 powered, and it will definitely be tri-powered as well. I've got the whole setup. That is what I want to do with the car, and that's what it will have. But for now, I think I have to use the 390 just to keep this thing progressing and keep this thing on the road. Um, that's just that is just what's going on. I still have to do a couple things like the fuel tank, the fuel system, all that. I still have to do all that. So there are still things to do, but this is definitely a huge blow and very unfortunate. I think that this should have been discovered in the machining process, but it wasn't. And now it's causing me this huge setback. So let me know what you would do in this situation. Would you try to fix it? Would you find another one? Or would you just put the 390 in it and try to find a 420 in the meantime? Let me know. But that's it. That is the update. And I'll see you guys on the next one.